Cliff's YouTube videos on golf performance. Again, my name is Vance Farino. I'm an exercise physiologist for the Cliffs. We're going to talk today about the human spine and the role of the human spine in a golf swing. Specifically, we're going to be talking about the center part of the spine, which is called your thoracic spine. So the way the spine is set up, you have a cervical, which is your neck area. Now for most people, if you take your fingers and palpate the top, your back of your neck, you'll feel a bump. That is what we call your C7. Then just below that begins the thoracic spine, and then the thoracic spine coming to about here, and then the lumbar spine is going to take it all the way down to where it sits on top of the sacrum. The role of the thoracic spine is really, really critical for all kinds of movements, but especially for rotational movements. And the reason is this. You have what are called facet joints, and they're just joints that overlap. So you have these little vertebral bodies, and they sit on each other. And these joints overlap, and they create stability in the spine. Well, each segment of the lumbar, thoracic, and cervical have a little bit different alignment for a very specific purpose. In the thoracic spine is designed, it can create a little bit of what we call flexion and extension, a little bit of lateral bending, a little bit more than it can do in the other ones, and then a lot of rotation. It has the ability to rotate considerably. And that's important because when we go down to the lumbar spine, the orientation of these joints in the lumbar spine allow for a lot of flexion and extension, a little bit of lateral flexion, and virtually no rotation. It is not designed to be able to rotate. So the problem happens in our society where we have a lot of sitting, a lot of forward shoulder and forward head. The spine, if I line up, my ear should line through my shoulder, line through my hip. So the natural spine has these little curves. Well, the thoracic spine has what is called a kyphotic curve. It's just a little bit forward. Well, we see, and you'll see over time with people, is that it becomes more and more. Then all of a sudden the head's out here. And once the spine gets into that position, it's taking up more of what is called a sagittal plane, this forward position. Its ability to rotate becomes less and less. And that's a huge problem because now I have a golf club. I bring my golf club around and my thoracic spine says, I can't rotate well. The lumbar spine looks up and says, hey, you're killing me, because now those joints that are not designed to rotate are getting rotational pressure that they're not designed to take. And that's why we play golf and we have this back pain. So what we're going to work on today is we're going to work on using a foam roller to create a little bit of thoracic extension, then coming up out of that, and we're going to give you a couple of home exercises to do to try to get that thoracic spine to mobilize and give you a little bit more motion, which should enhance your ability to make a nice big shoulder turn on your golf swing. Okay, for this first portion, what we're going to do is using a foam roller. Now we're going to position our body where we're going to lay on our back, our knees are going to be bent, and we're going to put this thoracic spine at the level about the shoulder blades against the roller. And then from that position, we're going to just extend over it. Now I will say that I've been doing this for a long time and I have a little bit of a genetic disposition to be pretty mobile. So I can get over this and get to the floor. Very few people can. So what I would suggest you'll do, and maybe we'll demonstrate here, is using pillows or something to help offset that. I don't want you having so much pressure in your back that your head is hanging and it becomes really uncomfortably almost painful. There's nothing comfortable about mobilization on these tools, but it should never be painful. So again, you could feel it's uncomfortable, but it's doing its job versus, wow, that really hurts. No pain at all. If you feel like it's becoming painful, get off of this, give me a call, and I can talk you through it. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to set the roller. And like I said, I'm going to start with the upper thoracic. So I like to break the thoracic spine into 3 zones. So right around the shoulder blade, zone 1, just below that, zone 2, and just above the lumbar spine is zone 3. I will tell you, for most people, the zone 3 is the most difficult and where you need to be the most careful. Zone 1 is usually the easiest. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put this here. I'm going to get my shoulder blades right around the area of my shoulder blades, right about there. Now what I want to do is I need to get my shoulder blades out from off the pad because I want the spine to go over it. Could do it a couple of ways. One, just give yourself a big hug. But oftentimes for most people, what I think is going to be easiest, I take my fingertips and I'm going to hold the weight of my head. I'm not interlocking, just my fingertips will hold the weight. I point my elbows up and now my shoulder blades are off. So from here, I am going to drop myself back. Now again, I can get into this where my head can get back to the floor pretty easy. Very few people are going to be able to do that, especially if they have a little bit, what we say is that fixed kyphotic position where that back is stiff. So go easy. Now in this case, if that person, if I have somebody in that position, I'm just going to take a pillow. Just take the pillow and rest your pillow here. Now the pillow shouldn't be so high that your head's in this position. You still want your neck to extend, but you have to just find a comfortable position in which to do it. So from this position, I'm just going to let myself relax over that roller. Now again, I'm going to take my hands away because I can get my head to the floor. And I'm just going to breathe. And I'm just going to relax there. Now ideally for anything that's mobilization, the authors of all this say it needs to be held for about 2 minutes. We're trying to let all this connective tissue loosen and let go. If you can't do 2 minutes straight out, just start with a little bit. Start with 30 to 40 seconds and build yourself up. Now in this position, as I come in, I'll get my extension and I will just rest on it. But then after maybe about a minute of just being relatively static, I'll come in and I'm just going to try to just gently create a little bit of lateral flexion. I'm in an extended position. So I said, all right, thoracic spine, you're extended. Now I need you to be able to go through a little bit of a different plane of motion. So I'm just going to take it and I just gently mobilize on it. I can create a little bit of rotation if I like by just kind of just trying to roll one side up or back, and there's a few ways of going about that. The last thing so once I've completed just this little bit of gentle motion from that extended position, I can hold it still again and just gently rock my legs. We say this is driving it from the bottom up. My pelvis is pulling my spine, it's pulling my rib cage, and I can get a mobilization through the mid-back by just moving my legs. Be easy. If you take your legs left to right, start from about 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock, and then slowly, if you can just gently go further over. Don't try to force that. Once I've completed that, I'm going to roll the roller out away from my shoulder blades. It's in the center part of my back, and I'm going to repeat that process. And again, I just get that in that position there. Nice deep breath. I can come in here and create a little bit of that lateral flexion, that side bending. And then of course from that position here, I can take my legs and gently roll them back and forth. Now slow down on that. I'm doing this for the sake of filming this. We're moving through it quickly. Be slow, okay? Last spot, zone 3, just above the lumbar spine. You don't want this roller as big as it is, maybe right into the lumbar spine, but you can just get just up to that lower part, and again here. Now this lower part's not going to be influenced by that side bend so much. I tend not to do it from here. So from here, my focus is more about trying to drive the legs. Okay. Now, like I said, your goal is to spend at least 2 minutes or so in extension. It doesn't have to be 2 minutes in each zone. If you've got the time, if you're watching some TV, or if you're just quarantined in and you want to do it, that would be fine. But give yourself some time, go easy. If you're going to err to doing a little bit less until your body gets used to it. And again, I want to be really clear. This can get a little bit uncomfortable, but should at no time be painful. Okay, so now we've done all that nice mobilization to kind of get that thoracic moving. Now we're going to tie that into movement patterns. Soft tissue manipulation and mobilization is wonderful, but if I don't teach my body as to why I'm doing it, it tends to go away quickly. So what we're going to start out with is, again, working through that thoracic spine by taking our hands through a variety of reaching positions. Now, one of the things very specific to golf, now going back to what I was talking before, the thoracic spine I mentioned, it can flex, it can extend, it can laterally bend each way, of course, and of course it can rotate. But in a golf, it has to do two different motions at the same time. So what it's doing from here, as I go to make a golf turn, I am rotating to my right, but because there's a ball on the ground, I am laterally bending to my left. And we just call that a coupling motion. So I have right rotation and left lateral flexion. So we're going to work on that specifically here. So what I like to do is set myself up against the wall. We're going to use the mirror obviously in here for now. But I get myself up, set myself like I'm in a golf stance. I'm acting like I'm making my backswing, and at about shoulder height, I'm just going to place this hand here. Now, because my chest is there, that's my new forward, so my head's going to align in this position. I take this arm, and I take this, and I'm reaching over my head to try to mobilize that back. I've created rotation, and now I'm going to be driving, we call lateral flexion. Now, a big key on this is to watch yourself. What I sometimes when I teach this, I'll see is this. So notice if my butt goes back, what does my spine not have to do? Bend. So I don't want my butt going back. I'm just going to come here and reach. I bring this here toward the shoulder and I reach. Then once I've done that 15, 20 times, I can take this one now and I'll anchor here. So this I'm anchoring rotation, driving lateral bending. This I'm going to anchor the lateral bending and drive the rotation. Again, 15, 20 times on that. Then we'll put the two together. To do that, I like to use some towels. Now it depends, I guess, the surface at the house that you might be doing it on. Obviously on the mirror this will work well. And it keeps our house cleaners happy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come, set my hands up again, back in my golf stance, and I'm going to take this hand, drive it up, at the same time this drives underneath. And it looks something like this. So now, again, you can see I am winding up. That whole thoracic cavity is going through that type 1 coupling. I'm building all that up and through my center. I'm kind of working all that mobility. So again, a combination. I fix rotation, drive lateral bend, hold the lateral bend, drive the rotation, and then work them both together. Now in doing that, I would suggest start with the one. Start with the anchoring of rotation, drive that. If this is all new to you. Then after a couple of days of doing it, add in where you hold this one and drive that rotational piece. And then do that for a few days and then tie in where they're going to both move together. If you do them all at one time and it's new to you, it might be too much. So again, err to being a little bit less and build up. Okay, so we did the manipulation, the mobilization with the thoracic roller. We did some mobility with our hands. Now we're going to start tying these patterns together to strength and to be very golf specific. Now, for this first video, we're going to keep these simple. In subsequent videos, we're going to add layers to this. So the first thing that we're going to work on is just creating a same side rotation, meaning that if I step to my right hand is going to go right. I can also do opposite side rotation, which means my left hand is going to go to the right. Now in same side rotation, we always want the palm up. We're kind of externally rotating that shoulder joint position. So I'm going to start just like I'm over a ball. I give my good athletic stance. My hand is here. Again, I don't necessarily up here. And as I step, and for today, we're going to just step 90 degrees. As I step out, at the same time, my hand reaches around my body. Key on this is note, this foot stays pointed forward, this leg is straight, this foot is forward. I'm going to come in, I make a big turn, my head stays over the ball, my head's not chasing my hand. It could, there's drills for that too, but specific to this, my head stays down. So it's going to look something like this. Now I want you to go easy, feel it out. Get there and then get back. Once, over the course of weeks, put speed to it. A golf swing is quick, it's explosive. These, in time, should be explosive, where I get there and I get back. I get there and I get back. We want that elasticity. Now, we're going to switch. I want to stay going to my right, but now I'm going to use my left hand. Now, going back to this right, when I have this arm swinging, the weight of my arm is pulling across my chest and my abdominals. It's loading the anterior part of this pattern. When I have this left hand going this way, it's going to rotate the posterior part. So again, I'm going to come in through here and I reach that through. I reach it, come back. Reach it, come back, and my eyes stay over the ball. And of course, you're going to repeat that to your other side. Now, as you're doing this, if you can, watch yourself in a mirror, because ideally, in time, won't happen day one. If I took a snapshot of this, it should be the exact mirror image of this. We try for as much symmetry in motion as possible. And that's the ultimate goal. If I can create symmetry, then my body's going to move fairly well. The other thing, going back and tying this into the golf swing, if I have the ability to drive this pattern or drive this pattern and in time believe them, try to pull them both around, if I can do this way out into this big circle, this big sphere, when I come back to here, that becomes super easy for my body. I've built these buffer zones well beyond what the golf swing requires. So when I come back into my golf stance, to make that turn becomes much easier. So this is thoracic spine work. Go easy, build up with the progressions we've just given you, and don't hesitate to call me if you have any questions.